now with our chief meteorologist, Dan Cianca. Hey there, Dan. What do you got to tell us?
Hey there, Veronica. Well, if you like warmer weather, we've got some good news for you. If you like rain, we have a little news for you.
Okay.
If you like cold mornings, we've got some good news for you. If you got temperature fluctuations, got some good news for you. Just full of good news tonight. If you don't like any of those things, I've got some bad things for you.
All right.
Let's take a look at a live look from Domenico's on the Wharf tonight. We are seeing clear skies this evening after a mostly sunny day. There were some periods of high cloud cover this afternoon, but kept our temperatures down just a little bit from forecast highs, but we still ended up pretty seasonable across the region. We've also been pretty dry outside of that weekend weather system that brought a few inches of rain to the Santa Cruz Mountains and then somewhat smaller amounts to many of our inland locations. But I did finally want to look back on our January precipitation report. We got a little busy this weekend with the rain coming through, so we didn't have time to share this with you. I know we're like a week into February, but let's take a look at some numbers. The middle column here, these are the observed totals. So this is how much rain fell in each one of these locations, at least according to the climate site in those locations. And in this column, this is the normal value, about how much you should typically see. And of course, on the final column, we show you the percent of normal. So in Salinas, for example, 2.7 inches of rain fell at the airport, although I'm a little bit questionable about that. I think it might be a little bit low, but those are the numbers that I have so far. That is 103% of normal. Monterey, about 4.5 inches of rain at 140% of normal. Look at Watsonville. So this is the Watsonville Waterworks climate site, almost 10 inches of rain just in January. And keep in mind, most of our January rain came in the first couple of weeks. It was dry that last week and a half or so. So that's an impressive total in just a couple of weeks, 270% of normal. King City, almost 7 inches of rain, almost 300% of normal for the month. Unbelievable. Gilroy, about 8 inches of rain. That's 181% of normal. And Ben Lomond, 21 inches plus. Not uncommon to see much higher amounts in the Santa Cruz Mountains, but certainly pretty impressive. Keep in mind, again, that came in just a couple of weeks, and it's twice as much as you typically get during the month of January. Of course, we've already had a little rain so far this month, so what does it look like moving forward? Well, right now the storm blocker's on, high pressure in control here across the west coast. The air mass is slowly warming. We've had some chilly mornings, but the afternoons have been progressively warmer for most locations. Storm systems have been pushed off to the north. We saw some cloud cover from a storm system, but its rain is all the way up into the Bitterroot Valley of Montana. That's about how far north it is, and it's probably falling in snow. There's another storm system out here, and it's not going to directly impact us, but as we look at our long-term future cast here, you can see the ridge kind of hanging out here. Some precipitation associated with that first system going to the north, but then a trailing system does dig down the coast here. So I am expecting much cooler air as we head into the weekend and a chance for some rain showers. That best chance is going to be on Saturday. I don't expect it to be a wall-to-wall rain day. I expect just a few isolated showers here. The air aloft is going to be cold enough, though, that we could see some small hail, believe it or not. So we're going to be watching this Saturday. It's not going to be a huge deal. Some areas may not get any rain at all on Saturday just due to the scattered nature of this precipitation, but some areas may see a couple rounds of showers. Really just depends on how lucky you are or aren't, really. And then the rest of the weekend looking a little bit chilly. I think Saturday is the one day we will see any precipitation. In the meantime, again, we're experiencing a warming trend. Sky is staying mostly clear overnight. Can't rule out a few high clouds as we head through the day on Wednesday, but otherwise it should be a pretty nice day. The overall air mass is warming up about 4 degrees, and with a lack of clouds, I think many locations will be between 4 and 6 degrees warmer tomorrow afternoon, because again, we did have some clouds this afternoon which prevented us from really reaching the as warm as the weather could have been, I suppose, today. So let's look at some temperatures. We're going to start things off in Santa Cruz County. Overnight tonight, still chilly down into the mid-30s for our lows. Patchy frost possible in the valley bottoms in the Santa Cruz Mountains, but highs returning to the low to mid-60s tomorrow afternoon. Even Santa Cruz back in the 60s tomorrow after a low of around 40. Over to Watsonville in the Pajaro Valley. We'll see lows in the mid-30s, back into the mid-60s for our highs in our northern valleys. Also potentially a little patchy frost, but mid-30s for your lows, highs back in the mid to upper 60s. Salinas, not too bad, 68 tomorrow. We'll be in the low 60s closer to the coast because winds ultimately are still onshore. They'll just be light. Over to the peninsula, lows in the upper 30s to low 40s, highs in the low 60s. So warmer in Monterey, you're going to jump up a few degrees tomorrow afternoon. And then one last stop on the tour, down south, We'll see highs back in the mid 60s and maybe even upper 60s there in the central part of the Salinas Valley. Still cold though in the morning. How about Halone and Lockwood, probably in the 20s when you wake up tomorrow morning. So a little chilly down south. Over the next 7 days, Thursday expected to be the warmest of the next 7. On the coast, we'll jump up about 3 more degrees. That could bring Salinas. And again, keep in mind, I know Salinas isn't on the coast, but I consider Salinas to be in the coastal zone or on the edge of it. So places like Salinas and Watsonville are included in the coastal forecast. Somebody asked me that the other day. So coastal forecast is the Monterey Peninsula, Santa Cruz, Capitola, and then the east side of the bay as far inland as Salinas and Watsonville. So there you go. We'll get into the mid 60s Thursday. Cooler this weekend with some winds blustering around. Again, that rain chance on Saturday. Not going to be a huge deal, but we'll be showery, I think, throughout the day Saturday, especially early in the day. We'll have some temperature ups and downs next week because a couple of systems will come through. Inland areas will also be the warmest on Thursday, and we'll see 70s, I think, in many locations, but a big fall in temperatures as we head into the weekend. Of course, we'll be keeping an eye on the rain chance on Saturday. I wouldn't change any of your plans just yet, but make sure to stay tuned to the forecast. Veronica.
Thank you so much for that, Dan.